Okay, everyone, as promised in the previous video, we're gonna do multiple examples of buys and sells of on different time frames of uh, test phases and the two pullbacks that we discussed a little bit in the previous video. Why do we need two pullbacks? Generally, why do we look for two pullbacks? Why? What is the logic behind it? And it's basically, you know, the same as it is with the test phase, right? Let's initially just talk about the two tests, two pullbacks. Let's initially talk about two pullbacks, the phenomenon of two pullbacks after a strong move up or a strong move down. Let's initially talk about that because it's basically the same thing, right? If you just broaden your horizon a little bit, and if you start to think about it a little rationally by putting in a little bit of common sense and knowledge to it. Now, you don't need to put in a lot of common sense and knowledge to it. Just need to put a little bit of common sense and knowledge to it. Observation, obviously. Uh, okay, let's start with the drawing, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, let's come here. Okay, so let's say that the prices are going down, right? Prices are going down, making lower highs and lower lows, and we know it's a downtrend. We're gonna start doing it from the start to the end, right? How do we look at a trade? That is what I'm going to explain, along with the other things that are going to be necessary for you to keep in your mind. It's not always going to be the same. That is the thing about trading, right? You might see people taking trades every single day, maybe multiple trades a day, but that is not how we do it, because what we are looking for is by risking a minimum amount, let's say, because I risk 1% per trade, and I personally am a fan of following this rule of one trade a day. And that too, if you find a trade that is according to how you understand the markets, one trade a day. That too, if the market is following the rules that you set up for yourself. It's no no rule of thumbs. It's just multiple things that come along together to, as we've said before, to form a trading strategy, right? So we know that we're in a downtrend. We've established that we're in his territory. As long as we're below this, as we're above this, we're waiting for him to sell again, and so that we can join in on those sells, right? It's as simple as this. This is what we are looking to do. Now, the price starts to pull back. It starts to pull back, pulling back, and it puts in. It's pulling back, and then it starts to sell again. Okay, pay attention to what I'm going to tell you guys. As we discussed in the test phase, let's say we're talking about cells, right? If we are in a cell, and let's do another drawing here, and then we'll come back to this one. Let's say that as we discussed that in a downtrend, the price starts to pull back, and then we're waiting for him to come. We're waiting for this seller to come back so that we can sell with that seller again, and then more confirmation about if the seller that has come back down all the way to there, challenging the up move in your miniature territories that you've been marking. It comes all the way down, challenges it. Of course, we are looking at the momentum, how different this move down is from this move up, all that thing that we've discussed already in the previous video in detail. Now, the next thing that you're looking for in a downtrend is some sort of test that shows you that fails to, fails to continue with this higher high and higher low sequence. Let me just do it a little better. Yeah, so you're looking for some kind of confirmation, a lower high in this case, that's showing you that, okay, your seller from the bigger time frame is back and he's starting to hold, right? Generally, if you there are multiple terms about when the markets are ranging. It's distribution, accumulation, reaccumulation, redistribution. I honestly do not even know what exactly that means. What I understand is when markets are ranging or they're in a channel, it's generally building up positions for a bigger move, right? That is what I understand, and that is what I'm going to stick to. I'm not going to get into all of those terminologies used by different mentors in the industry because I personally, I honestly don't know what a distribution, what's the difference between a distribution and accumulation. I don't know that, and I don't want to know that because what I have been doing for the past 4 or 5 years, after spending so much time on the charts, I know that works, and I'm going to stick to it. I'm not going to try and get into different stuff that's going to get me more confused, right? So what I understand is that when the markets are ranging on any given time frame, a range is no higher highs, no lower lows, right? When a market is ranging or a market is channeling, it's generally that too. When you see smaller movements in that, right? You see little small ranges, small channels. We'll take a look at them on the charts also, because they're a part of our test phases, and that is when the markets are getting ready, because the bigger players are lining in their positions to for a bigger move. So in other words, what I want to call it is it's the calm before the storm. When you see the markets are really calm, at some point it's not going anywhere, that is a sign that something big is going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen, of course, because you cannot see the future. But you can, from video 1 to up till now, you can follow the whole process and come up with a bias. That too, after checking multiple facts of what had been happening previously, what just happened, and this is what could happen in the future based upon what has been happening in the past. That is how we come to the hypothesis of this is what's going to happen. Anyway, so coming back to the topic again, the reason why you want to see a lower high or this buyer in your miniature territories failing to make a higher high or higher low sequence is because that is more confirmation on, yes, the seller that had been selling earlier has got the price that it wanted. It has got the discount that it wanted on the same product of whatever it is, doesn't matter. We just want to take a look at how the candles are printing and how the past receipts of the bigger players have been reacting or performing or behaving previously. So this lower high, or what we call the first test, is because we want to be more sure of, yes, my seller is back. And then why you want the second test to go higher is to bring in buyers, again, as we've discussed before, so that the bigger seller can sell to them, right? If there are no buyers, the bigger seller cannot sell to them, right? That makes complete sense. So that is why we want to see the second test to go a little higher or maybe a little more aggressive than the first test, and then the market starts to go down. The purpose is to bring in buyers in this case, right? That is the purpose. So keep that purpose in mind. Now, what I want you to do is come back to the first image that we started to draw. Forget everything else. Forget about the test phase. Forget about the seller coming back and all. Just stay focused on what I'm going to tell you next. Okay. So when the markets are in a downtrend and they're putting in lower highs and lower lows, and it starts to pull back, right? As it starts to go again, retail traders are starting to get in on the sells, right? Because obviously trend is your friend, it's putting in lower highs, lower lows. It's also, I am fearful of missing out if this. Now, keep this in mind. There is a very fair chance that it continues to go lower. And I'm going to show you this on one of the trades that I took today. Because it's not, actually continuing to go lower without the introduction of buyers to the market per se. So we'll explain. It's just that the desperation on selling the product is so much that a lower time frame does the exact same thing that you could be looking on a higher time frame, and it goes. Okay, so people are fearful of this might just leave me and I won't make any money. And I want you guys to build that in your psychology, that it's okay. It's okay. It's okay if you did not make any money today. You did not lose any either, because you were following a set of rules, right? You did not lose any either. That is a big plus. Okay, so now, as this seller comes down from there to here, consider this a seller that is selling from an even higher time frame. I'm going to say it again. As this seller on 60 minutes that started here went all the way up to there, consider this the introduction of a bigger seller into the markets from a higher time frame perspective, from even a higher time frame perspective, sorry. Right? So it could be something like this. A big sell, the market pulls back, and then the next sell that has happened is even a bigger, let's say 240 selling from here to here, right? Once that's out of the way, we have one pullback. That pullback is obviously going to be higher highs and higher lows. And as that pullback happens and it puts in a lower high, just like test number one, just like the first test, this is the confirmation after pulling back once. This is the confirmation that the bigger seller is here to sell again, because it's continuing with the sequence of lower highs and lower lows. Now, the next thing okay, so generally what I personally do is I attempt on test number one. Now, because I've had so much experience, I attempt on test number one. And I personally keep taking profits. I'm not greedy. I even leave a lot of money on table at times. But one thing that I've learned from being in the industry for this long is it's okay to making something, because you don't know if you've sold in. Let me just clear all of these so that it's not a mumble jumble, and then we'll talk about it again. Right. So what happens is it could continue to go, right? But as it is going, people are getting in later, right? Because there is no confirmation as it's coming up that it's just going to continue to go down, right? It's only after they see this piece that it's going down, it's, broken support equal resistance, it's going to continue to go down. That is when people get in on the sell side. The stop loss is up there. Obviously, a logical area to have your stop losses, right? Now, what I personally do is I attempt on test number one, and I keep taking profits, right? If I'm in on test number one, I'm taking profits at the recent lows, and we'll talk about this as we go, further into the topic of where to put your stop loss and where to take profits and all. Now, but I am aware of the fact that if the selling is happening from even a higher time frame perspective, there are not enough buyers in the market as yet, right? Because everyone has gotten in on the sell side. Everyone, as they see it go, and the fear of missing out, FOMO, that I might not make any money, and they get in pretty late, right? My mentor, from where I initially learned trading, he used to say that if you hear about an opportunity, it's already too late, right? If something is coming to your ears from someone who's experienced it already, you're already late on the train, right? So the later you get in, the more difficult it becomes for your trade to be sustainable. So what I personally want to do is I want to catch the best prices and all. We'll get into that later. So now that I am in the trade, but I am aware of the fact that there could be another set of pullback coming in. Or you can call it another test of this seller. And what is the purpose of that test? The purpose of that test is for everyone, maybe even in here, for everyone who got into the sell side. If everyone is selling, who is the bigger player selling to? There are no buyers, right? So what the bigger players then do is they start to take profits. As they take profits, the price starts to buy again, because we know to take profit in a sell means that you have to buy, right? So as they start taking profits, the price starts to go higher. They actually manipulate the lows and highs also by short-term buys also, as we've discussed in one of the videos, right? So they start to bring the prices higher. Sorry, let me just clear all of this and use this then. They start to bring the prices higher. People who are in the sells are panicking now, right? People who are in the sells are panicking now. Why? Because it has already taken your stop losses. It has already taken your stop losses. It's not a buy anymore. I'm sorry, it's not a sell anymore, it's a buy. That is playing with the emotions of people. And test number 2 comes higher, introduces the buyers to the market. So anyone who has sold all of this move down has actually gotten taken out, or they've turned into buyers. So they're buying now. So more number of buyers are introduced into the market, and then the bigger player, obviously. What we're looking for is another return from the bigger player, and then, a couple tests to it. Anyway, the logic behind 2 tests or 2 set of pullbacks, it's the same thing. After you're in a pullback, after your bigger player comes back, you're looking for 2 moves to the first move confirms that, okay, the bigger player is back, and then an aggressive move following that to turn people to the opposite side, to the wrong side of the market. Now, let's go take a look at the charts. We're going to talk about 2 pullbacks. Okay, so on 60 minutes, if we take a look at this, we can see that the price, this was a resistance, buyer bought, went through the resistance. We have a little bit of, that trapped seller or the demand area in here also, as you can clearly see, and you mark this area, and now you're waiting for pullbacks. The first pullback comes in. First pullback comes in, puts in a lower low, tries to go higher, cannot go higher, fakes out, comes down, another lower low, a lower high, and then this is the threshold to where people had already started getting in on the buy side, right? Getting in on the buys, getting in on the buys, still getting in on the buys, still getting in on the buys. Where are your stop losses? Stop losses are right below this, right? Let me just clear all of this again so that it's, not a mess. Okay. So the first attempt on buys has happened, and we know that the buyer is here to buy again, right? Because it has put multiple, high lows from compared to that. Okay. The second set comes in. The second set of pullback comes in and goes through this. As it goes through this is where people are enticed to turn to the sell side, because the stop losses have been taken out. Your buys didn't make money, and you actually lost money. So you want to make that money back. And now, because your mind is not in the rational place, and you were thinking that it's not a buy anymore, it's a sell, you get in on the sell side, the sells start to pick up pace, you're happy, your stop losses are wherever, I don't care, because this is a wrong trade if you're in on the sell side, knowing that this buy is still holding, you cannot sell, you're still inside this, right? So people who are learning from here, you should not make that mistake. As long as you're above this, you're just looking to buy, you're not looking to sell. Yes, if you go through this, that is a different story, and we'll talk about that also, right? So then it breaks through support equals resistance, turn people to the sell side, and then does its thing and, goes for a buy. If we go a little farther behind, it's, okay, hold on. I'm going to go to that area that I was talking about, and maybe we can talk about this. Yeah. Did we talk about this? No, we did not. We did not. Okay, let's talk about this. All right. So, where did it go? Where did it go? 60 minutes. Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay, well, this is an overall downtrend at the moment, as you can see. So this might really confuse you more. Let's just go to a different place here. I did come across a very nice example. Let me just look for it. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Don't lose patience. All right. Just hold on. If we go to the 15 minutes and try and take a look at the. Okay, here. Maybe? Nah. I just came across something and now it's lost. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Now keep in mind that it's not always going to be this. And you will it's not always going to be exactly like this, and you will understand this as you spend more time to the charts. Basically it's all about the introduction of the opposite party into the markets, right? It could do two tests or two sets. It could do one deep pullback. It could do one aggressive pullback. It could do two aggressive pullbacks. It's going to vary. But what I want you guys to focus as of right now is this phenomena that we're talking about. And as we move forward, you've just started your journey here. There is a lot more to learn as we move forward, as we've gone through this course. And we start to do those Zoom sessions. That's where I'll explain to you guys different variations on it. But as of right now, because this is what happens most of the times, I want you guys to be focused on this and just this. Okay, so let's do the replay. Let's come here. Let's go to 60 and let's take a look at this. Okay, a very nice example of turning people to the opposite side of the market. Okay, so the buyer buys, goes all the way up to there. You've determined the territory. Now you're down in 15 minutes, and you can, as of right now, you can clearly see at any given time in all of this picture, you haven't really gone below this. I mean, you've poked below, you've faked out, and you've come back inside, right? So here's what's happening. The buyer that bought here went all the way up to there. Let me zoom in a little bit. Now you're on 15 minutes, reading your pullback. So there's basically multiple time frames involved in this, right? So it starts to pull back. When does your pullback begin? Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? It's basically when it, as we've talked about it goes through support equal resistance. It starts to put in lower highs and lower lows. That is this, right? So the first time it starts to pull back, it's, you're marking your miniature territories. It's just going down, and then it turns around and goes higher, high, higher, low, right? Higher, high, higher, low. So first test done. Second test comes down aggressively, goes through this. For anyone who got in on the buys along the way, have been taken out. They've turned to the sell side, and lost money. The psychology of whatever we've talked about. Now this is a little different case, right? Because in this you can clearly see that you're still inside his territory, but you're challenging down there also. So you're in his territory too. And as this starts to reject from here, if the sell was to continue, it should have continued from here. Instead, so see, this is what should happen. A lower high, a lower low should put in a lower high and at least try and make a lower low, right? But it does not do that. What does it do instead? It puts in a higher low and higher high sequence. So the signs of your bigger buyers coming back. But then, of course, this is a very strong and sharp sell. So this needs to get absorbed first. It just cannot. Okay, not always. At times, it will just continue to go, and then there's nothing you can do about it. But most of the times, this sharp move down, that is still your pullback number 2 in this buyer's territory, in this buyer's playfield, that is still your pullback number 2. That is the purpose of which is to turn people to the wrong side of the market, and it has done that, right? After it's done that, it starts to put in higher low, higher high sequence, but this sell needs to get absorbed first. So it sells again, but it fails to put in a lower high, whereas it actually puts in a higher low, right? Tries to buy again, comes down again. So in this scenario, what we're just talking about right now, let me just, do a little bit of cleaning, and we'll call it a video after this because it's gone too long. I honestly didn't realize it's going to go too long, but it's because I love this topic so much. It's so close to my heart because you can see the bigger players manipulating the smaller players and making money off them, right? And all you gotta do is understand what they're doing. So that is why the videos are getting a little longer. It's basically we're a little monotonous. We're stuck to this one topic, but it's because this topic is so close to my heart, and I want you guys to understand it properly. Anyway, so in this scenario, this move up is your bigger buyer coming back. Then you have test number 1 that tries to go, fails. Test number 2 turns people to the sell side again, and then it buys. You can clearly see it's buying. It's basically the same thing over and over again, but you have to adjust it on different time frames, right? Quickly going to talk about one of the trades that I took today on Euro Aussie. This is a trade that I'm in right now. It's running. It's done about 27R, and I'm going to explain the whole scenario of this trade in probably the next video or the video after that. But what I want to show you guys is how I got in on this trade is basically I got in on 15 seconds. So every time frame that you look at, right? Every single time frame that you look at, this buy move happened, right? It's the same buyer on 60 minutes. It's the same buyer on 15 minutes. It's the same bloody buyer on 3 minutes. It's the same bloody buyer on 1 minute. It's the same buyer, right? So what I am looking at now is I got in on this trade on 15 seconds. And I'm going to take you down to 15 seconds. I'm going to show you everything that we just talked about since the previous video and this video. Everything that we talked about. We're going to, we're going to go through that. Okay. So on 15 seconds, as you can see, the price buys from down wherever. It goes to all the way up to there. And then it puts in a resistance. I'm sorry, a support. And it buys again, right? Higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. As it starts to come down, this move down is basically where the sellers are getting introduced, right? Because in this time frame, I'm talking about this time frame right now, 15 seconds. On this time frame, there is a support that was formed. And the support gets broken. As the support gets broken, where is your miniature territory on this? Can you see that small little buy in there? Can you see this buy in there? This little bit of buying that happened. So the seller sells from here, goes all the way down to there, right? Support broken, introduction of sellers to the market, people who had bought after this massive move up. Oh, we're missing out on a trade, right? We're missing out on a trade. People who bought, in here, in here, in here, in here, and all of their positions have been taken out. They've turned to the sell side. They want to sell as the price comes back here. They sell, but what happens? Now, take a look at this. Support broken. It should sell from here. Instead, on this time frame, it ranges for a little while, puts in a higher low, puts in a higher high. At this point in time, when we had this higher high, I was actually cussing at the markets. Reason being because, I wanted to get in on this. And why I wanted to get in on this will be explained in the next video, because there's more to it than just the price action, right? There is a lot more to it than just the price action. So we'll talk about that in the next video. But what I want you guys to see is as it goes down, your aggressive buyer from the left side comes back, challenges all the way up there, and the desperation is so much that it basically puts in a higher low and puts in a higher high. So your test number 1 actually went higher high. I'm waiting for test number 2 to come down to the same areas and test number 2 comes down. I got in here. My stop loss was below this little range that you see. I'm not going to clean it now. You should be able to see it. And it did come down one more time, but I wasn't afraid because of the information that I had. And I'm going to give you the information in the next video, right? But it's the exact same thing that we've talked about. And it happens over and over again. Anyway, the video is getting too long right now, so calling it a video, and then we'll talk about the same stuff and a little bit more in the next video, right? Cheers.